Welcome to Inside the Firm. I'm your host, Alex Gore, here with our other host, Lance Cayko. Hey, how's it going? This podcast is just an inside look into an architecture firm / a business, just a regular business and a development. It's a little different from other podcasts. We're not interviewing other people. We're doing a deep dive into our strategies, what's going on, and how we're doing it. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned because here we go.
So first thing I want to do is give a shout out to a fan, a listener who sent us a really nice email. His name is Joshua Stewart. So shout out to Joshua Stewart. I want to read just like the first paragraph of his email, and I would encourage anybody who appreciates the podcast. We love hearing from you, and we also really appreciate 5-star reviews on iTunes. So if you're going to give us a review, add 5 stars to it, as Ben Shapiro would say, and then review us. So thanks to everybody who's done that. I was actually surprised. I think we have like six reviews so far, and we're slowly trying to build this thing over 12 years. So here goes. Joshua Stewart says, Alex and Lance, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to say thank you for your podcast. I absolutely love it. Inside the Firm has quickly become my favorite podcast in any genre. Wow.
Any genre.
That's huge. Step aside, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. It's going against Jocko podcast.
Step aside, Adam Carolla.
Get out of here.
The only thing I don't like is that I have ran out of episodes to binge listen after breezing from episode 0 to 21 in about 4 days. My only option is to now re-listen from the beginning again. Amazing. Thanks a lot, so again, really appreciate that words of encouragement. It honestly helps fuel us, and we're going to keep doing it. We're going to try this for a year. If we want to maybe hopefully continue in the future.
Yeah, and I think us continuing in the future is sort of this engagement. If we get this feedback, if we get good reviews, if we get bad reviews, we'll try to adjust and be better. But if you can spread it, we can see those numbers, and they'll just continue for us to get pushing it, wanting to do it. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
If you can't get enough of F9, we've done something recently where you can get even more.
Even more. Tell us about it.
So we had a professional film lady come in, and we filmed.
And let's give her a shout out here. So Mari Wolf Photography, she is awesome. She does video, she does still shots, and she's out of Longmont. So if any locals listening in Colorado, highly recommended.
Yep. So basically, we did 6 total videos.
Six videos.
Yep. So if you go to f9productions.com, and then you'll see in the tabs, it's
Go inside F9.
Yeah, go inside F9. The first video is our intro one. Honestly, the best part of it is the bloopers at the end where we screw up. And then that page has a whole bunch of links to our other podcasts that we've been guests on. It has a link to, it has the videos of the 5 other videos showing some of our projects, what we do, our thought process, how we grow. And then what else did we have a link to? I swear we had more on that page.
Probably your book. You selfish.
I need to do that, though. The Creativity Code. Get it on Amazon.
Pick it on Amazon.com.
There you go.
All right. So, anything else regarding that?
I just wanted to let people know. I thought it's cool.
Portion?
Yeah, on Facebook, a lot of people watch those videos.
I agree. I think one has up to 600 views or something so far.
Wow.
So, and I would encourage anybody. So, take a look if you're also like a practitioner or anybody else who's running a business. I think there's a lot of value in putting together some kind of video like that, especially when it comes to like Facebook, because as soon as you scroll through Facebook, it automatically starts playing, right? So people sometimes will just watch it accidentally.
Yep. And then in Facebook, if you put it in an album, like it will go to the next one. And then I don't even think we did the best job on them. I thought we did a good job. I think the videos are good. But if you're thinking about doing one, watch ours. And then you can say, oh, I want to structure mine different or, whatever. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Absolutely. So next thing, Angie's List is a thing. Alex has been on fire. Alex is the mascot for Angie's List. You should be the poster boy. You should do a commercial.
It's sponsored by Angie's List.
Yeah. How's it been going? Honestly. And how's it been going? A, and B, did you expect it to be going the way it has been going for you? And tell us, like, how many inquiries are you getting?
I'm probably inquiries. It varies, but I'm probably doing 4 meetings a week. And
were you doing 4 meetings a week before that? For anything like this?
No.
Nope.
And what's great about it is that I thought because in what we're offering is, you know, a design consultation. It's just 3 hours of design work. And then how we break it up is as I've told you guys before is, you know, it's an hour meeting, it's an hour research and an hour proposal. But then plus there might be a little bit of design, you know, in there. But a lot of people know exactly what they want. So the meetings, the last 2 meetings were 15 minutes each. And they were great. They were amazing. And now I just need to put together the proposal and go with it. And what's great about this is that I think it's giving power back to the client. So all of a sudden, if you have, I think the construction industry could be scary for some people.
Yep.
Right. They're a house mom or not, or even it doesn't even matter who you really are. You're asking someone to come to your house, and then normally they'll do the first thing for free. So, you know, the law of reciprocity, you kind of owe them something for driving down.
I was speaking with one of our favorite contractors, shout out Brian Tinker today, and I was telling him about the success that you've been having in the inquiries. And I mentioned Angie List, and he immediately shot it down. He said, I'd used them a few years ago, and I paid for leads. And I said, I think this is the difference is we are offering this deal. They pay Angie's List, then Angie's List sends us a check in the mail.
Yep.
So they've already got skin in the game.
Yep. And I totally understand offering free meetings, and we still do. And it's funny, the one, like our stereotypical client, which is like a male in his 40s, right? He emailed he went to our website. I found you on Angie's List, but do you come out and do free first meetings? So like that stereotypical client that we get still did it the old-fashioned way, even though he found us on Angie's List.
I signed a client earlier this week. We're going to do a master bedroom edition. It was exactly that scenario.
Oh, so they contacted you from Angie's List.
I've been stealing from you.
Nice.
In a roundabout way, because somehow they contact me. I don't know. They're like, hey, and I'm like, 'cause I always ask people like, how did you find us?
Yeah.
One other thing too, like, so these aren't going to be award-winning anything, right?
No.
It is bread and butter work, but it is actual work that needs to be done. People need to expand. People need to remodel. These are like meeting people's needs.
And also keep in mind people in the recession. In the recession, you might not get those big house commissions, but you still need to eat. Kids might need to eat.
Kids got to eat.
Got to get some food.
I mean, you got to feed them at least once a day.
Bare minimum, I've heard. Still figuring this out. So that could be a fallback. Like, okay, let me go after additions now, right? But think about the client. You know, your typical client that you know asks, you know, 1 or 2 architects or even contractors. So for Brian to come, well, that could be intimidating. You know, now the other way is if Brian went on Angie's List offering a deal. Oh, I'm going to research. I'm going to boil it down to 1 and I'm going to pay him. Now I'm in charge. Now this guy owes me something.
Yeah. So they feel like they have some ownership.
So even if he's a big 6'2", 200-pound guy, I still paid him. He's in debt to me. I'm in charge. I'm little old lady me's in charge now. Yep. Right?
Yep.
Like psychologically
absolutely.
speaking.
No, I think there's some truth to this. 100%. Sure. At some point you should update us with like a capture rate. Because you've been keeping track of every meeting that so we share like a calendar.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, Alex will put like, you know, meeting with George, Angie's List.
Yep.
And then a spreadsheet too, right?
Yep. So, and my main problem is honestly getting out contracts because it's meeting after meeting after talking to guys about this.
How many
project.
do you have to write right now, do you think?
4.
So that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what hasn't worked out for us so far? House. I'll be honest with you. So I just want to follow up with that. So we get paid from Angie's List. It's not a big we basically barely cover Alex's like cost.
Can you make a deal on house?
Yes. And I was going to talk. I think we have to do something like that.
Maybe we should talk inside the firm and let people.
Exactly.
So what can you do? Tell me, because
I just want to follow your lead. So you can do the same thing as you. You can do the same thing as you. Is you can offer you can't do it. So they couldn't purchase it online. See, that's the difference. I think Angie's List has. No. It'd basically be like. It's an offer where it says $150 a meeting for that's worth $150, and then it would go towards your contract, right? So I still think you're like gonna That seems weird. It still seems like you're gonna attract tire kickers.
Well, that and then again, it doesn't give people the power of they didn't pay you yet or didn't commit to pay you yet.
Yeah, they have no skin in the game. Yeah, so there's not really a way.
Is there any way you could manipulate it so it seems like
that they put skin in the game?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the critical part is like just getting contacted. We've been on there for I think 3 weeks advertising so far. Not one contact. You know, I keep track of all the impressions and how many people save stuff and pin stuff to not pin stuff, but add to their idea book or whatever.
How are those numbers going?
Okay. I mean, nothing special. Yeah, but we've gotten more traction. So Thumbtack is good. Referrals are good.
Well, could you say? Does it have to go to your contract? Could you say
go to your? What do you mean?
$150 meeting, and it goes towards
maybe.
Could you just say, here's the deal, $150 for me to come out to your house, research what you can do, and give you a proposal.
Yeah. If nothing pans out,
have them pay on.
If nothing pans out by the end if we haven't got contacted by the end of the week, end of next week, then I'm going to get in touch with the salespeople over there,
and because they have to make that ad for you.
I think so. Oh well, I just want to. No. I don't think they have to make it. I think maybe we have the ability. I don't know. I haven't looked at that because when I scrolled through and saw the other competitors, there was a few people doing it, something like that. What I don't know is what you can do. So I'm saying I need to talk to them and pitch your idea, or whatever, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go.
There you go. Or just do it.
Or just do it.
And
ask for forgiveness later.
Exactly.
That's a pretty good policy.
Yeah, I love it.
I like that. Yeah. All right. So
I cannot see this screen.
You can't see the screen. Fair enough. There was so we recently got contacted by a fairly large developer down here in Boulder County, and they wanted us to redo so I want to bring this up as a topic to talk about. They wanted us to basically recreate some drawings that had been done in 2001. They were ready to submit for a building permit, and some of the immediate questions we got asked were, why will this take so much money just to redo an existing set of drawings from 2 decades ago?
Well, when you're dealing with a big company, you're dealing with a hierarchy, right? So there's the big boss man, and then there's everyone else, right? So we're dealing with basically everyone else, people that are running the show, getting the bids together, managing the whole company. But when they get a big bid, they have to go to the boss man and say, hey, this is what we want to do. Here's the bid. You cool with that? So that person called you up, not the boss, and said, I'm going to go to the boss. I'm going to tell him, here's the bid. Give me some ammo, because the plans have already been done.
Yeah.
And I got to keep setting this up. So the plans have already been done. They've already probably paid, who knows, $200,000 easily for these plans. Why do we have to pay an extra bunch load, even though they were done way back in the day? And when you set these 3 points, not only does it apply to, redoing everything, I think it applies to just, why does this cost so much?
Why
general?
Yeah, why homeowner, why are you charging me X just to do a master suite addition off the back of my house?
Yep.
Type of thing.
But your first 3 answers are applying to basically redoing a design that's already been done.
Yep.
So what did you say? Hey Lance, I need to go to my boss.
Yeah, and
give me three points.
Yeah, and he said, hey Lance, thanks for the very detailed proposal, which was like 8 pages long, because what it did is I got listed out exactly what from the city, copy and paste, what the heck we have to do, each bullet point type of thing. He was like, it's very thorough, but it's a little overwhelming. I just need 3 things. To tell me 3 sentences of why the fee is what the fee is. He goes, I'm not saying it's high. I just need to go. Number 1, we have to redraw everything and we have to bring it up to code. So everything has changed from 2001, right? Yeah. Including even local codes like zoning codes. So we got to do our due diligence, and then there's building products too. Second thing was we have to jump through a 3-step permitting process. Specifically in Boulder, we have to do this land use review, then we got to do a site plan review, then we got to do building construction. Actually, it's 4 if you count technical docs. Yeah. But it is a process. Like you can imagine, one of the most bureaucratic places in America. This is it. Yeah. Maybe second to San Francisco. I don't know. Yeah. And then the third is we have 5 different companies to herd within this contract. So the civil engineer, the mechanical engineer, the structural engineer, F9. I got to herd myself.
Yeah, it's hard.
I know. And the landscape. And you can't put leashes on cats.
Yeah.
Can you?
Where am I?
Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
I got confused. And I'm scared. I ran outside.
I just want my milk. Yeah. So he loved it. He actually loved what I had to say in those 3 bullet points. And he goes, he even, I know he was writing them down because he goes, okay, let me read these back to you. I just want to make sure I got this right. I haven't heard back. I'm going to actually follow up with him today and see how the meeting went. But I think it's something to be prepared for. When somebody,
Yes.
you got to be prepared to be on the spot. Like, why does that cost so much? And they might not even be like angry about the price. They just want to know, like, I need to justify this in my own head.
Yep. And then let's apply that to just a normal starting from scratch. So the point one where we have to redraw everything and bring it up to code. So why architecture fees cost so much, and they honestly don't. We percentage wise, they don't cost that much.
Yeah,
but
one of the things we've always told people, especially with a new house, this applies for us, but like, I don't know, our fees are going to match what you put into your cabinets. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, your kitchen cabinet. So we have to draw and recreate your whole building, and we're doing it not the old-fashioned way like AutoCAD, where it's just basically lines. We're actually modeling the building, and what that provides for you is that you can get takeoffs. So this Angie's List that I just met with, I told her about, she's redoing all of her siding. So I said, when we model everything, we can take off the schedule for how much siding you have. So then you can get tighter bids. So we're modeling the whole building. So we're literally building the whole building in Revit. And then we have to, bring it all, have everything comply to codes, right? Number 2, permitting. You can just talk about the permitting process in your state. And then number 3, you have to herd mechanical, electrical, all this other people.
Exactly. Yeah. So it is a process.
For sure.
There you go. And with that, I would like to welcome our
best friend,
our bestie. And he clarified for me that we shall call him Nick and not Nicholas. And the reason, so I mentioned this to him. The reason why we were calling him Nicholas is I just respected, like, Nicholas.
He wrote it.
Nicholas James Renard. Okay,
Yes.
But I had a former boss, and he insisted on being called Christopher.
Okay, best friend, let me talk to you here. This is just a question. I'm not. Why write Nicholas if you want to be called Nick?
I don't know. I hope he writes. I hope next week's NickReads segment is answering your question.
Yeah.
It'll be like this pen pal thing. It'll be like a podcast pal.
Now, I almost wish we were live on YouTube. He'd be commenting right now. Just tell me how to write my name.
Not paying attention to clients.
So we haven't listened to this, so we're just like you, the audience. So let's hear what Nicholas has to say.
In this week's segment of Nick Reads.
Hello, best friends! Gumption by Nick Offerman. Chapter 5. Roosevelt wrote, I suppose it sounds archaic, but I cannot help thinking that people with motorboats miss out on a great deal. If they'd only keep to rowboats and canoes and use oar or paddle themselves, they would get infinitely more benefit than by having their work done for them by gasoline. Not only will such a strenuous program reinforce a body's muscle and circulation, but it also affords one the advantages of intimacy with all the ineffable pleasures to be found once one steps over the threshold of domestic comfort and into the wonderlands of wood or prairie. Perhaps within this sentiment lies a clue to enjoying one's life with a Rooseveltian vigor. By metaphorically choosing the path of more resistance, a person can provide stimulating challenges to him or herself on a daily basis. Roosevelt's encouragement inspires me to get outside and hike, bike, or row, rather than remain in the homogenized climate control of a gym. I'm also warmed by his sure-footed stance regarding the balances of play versus work in a healthy life. He wrote, play should never be allowed to interfere with work, and life merely devoted to play is, of all forms of existence, the most dismal. But the joy of life is a very good thing. And while work is the essential in it, play also has its place. In order to successfully execute such a life as Roosevelt's, it's inherently important to keep one's blood up, maintaining a steady focus on victory, all while cultivating the horsepower to leap dynamically into action. It is only on these conditions that he will grow into the kind of American man of whom America can be really proud, he said. But I'm sure he meant to include the girls in that pronouncement as well. Nick Offerman. Now, I'm not too much into celebrity, but I'd gladly shave my head and pierce my navel for the opportunity to enjoy a seared steak, a glass or two of brown liquor, and a fine cigar with Nick Offerman. Please do check out Offerman Woodshop if you're not already familiar. Well, that's all for now. Toodles!
Thanks, Nick. You want to go first?
So I'm just going to give a little intro, just so if everybody doesn't know who he's talking about. Nick Offerman is an American actor, voice actor, producer, writer, comedian, and carpenter, widely known for his breakout role as Ron Swanson in the acclaimed NBC sitcom Parks and Rec. So he was like the anti-government libertarian, and I'm a huge fan of him.
Yeah.
So thank you for that read, Nick. That was great. From Nick.
So I only have two reactions to that. One, I think the main point is that I think he's correct, and society needs to maybe look towards hard work. And as my best friend, Jocko Willink of Jocko Podcast,
Greatest guy ever,
he has a saying: discipline equals freedom, right? Because right now he's retired, right?
Oh, he just said he's like on a pension from the army because he was in there for 10 years type of thing.
Well, you could say that's one part. But he's running a podcast. He goes surfing. He still wakes up at 4:34 a.m.
He's crazy.
Because he's crazy.
Yep.
And then someone commented to him like, "Oh, must be nice," and Jocko's like, "Man, maybe I shouldn't." Maybe I should be ashamed, that I have this nice life. And then someone commented on his Twitter and said his saying back, discipline equals freedom. So then Jocko went through, whenever he was back, from being in the Navy SEALs, just destroying everyone else, that the 4 days he'd get back, he bought a house. And then he'd do quick fix and flips. He goes, I'd stay up for 72 hours straight and just gut the whole thing and put the whole thing back in.
He's
and then
so
he goes,
crazy.
I buy house after house after
my
house.
God.
He's like, me and my wife, we'd live in like a little shack. He's like, so discipline equals freedom. Hard work equals freedom. And I think that's what he's going at, the first part. And you wrote down balance, and I think he balanced it out too, because I think that perspective is also key. And your best friend from college actually had something to say about this, because one of our professors basically had the same saying was, why take a motorboat, when you can row? Rowing's the best. You get the same logic.
Who is my best friend from college?
Oh, I'll tell you.
I'll tell you. Like, I'm looking at the guy across the table. I'm like, I don't know. I thought it was you.
No. So anyways, rowing is the best. Anyone who's in a
Why would you
motorboat
take a motorboat?
is a chump. And then shout out Kevin Donahue was like, well, what if you on a water ski? Sometimes you need a water. And it was like, yeah, that's true. Well, I don't think the professor agreed or anything like that. But I was like,
wait a minute. That was said? What Nick just read to us was said
Yes.
at NDSU.
At NDSU.
And then Kevin spoke up and was like, what if you want? He's such a contrarian.
And
I love
what's
him.
hilarious-
I love him because of that.
I can't remember if he said it to the whole class or if we were just sitting in the back and he just like, what if you want a water ski? I was like, that's a great point, Kevin.
My big thing to take away was balance, 100%. If you just work all the time, your whole life, come on, that's going to be boring. Nobody's going to come to your funeral. I want a giant crowd at my funeral. Saying, oh man, he was out doing this and that, and like he affected my life in this way, and I'm talking about him now, and like
we're gonna send him down the river and give him a Viking funeral and burn his
exactly.
body.
My brother's gonna shoot an arrow at me, and then it's gonna burn. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, after I miss a couple times.
Exactly. You'll miss a few times, and Luke will be there on backup.
Yep, just
ready to step.
Just like 5 feet behind. After 4 arrows go through, you're 100 meters down. He's a professional bow hunter.
He's literally a professional
I
bow
am
hunter.
not.
Yeah.
But I'll give it a good old college try.
You'll give it the Al Gore try and ask for forgiveness later, as you usually do. Yeah.
They steal my bow because they don't want me to do it. I will hide one at the bank just so I can take some shots.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks again, Nick. Looking forward to next week. See what you bring to the podcast. Again, where are we at in the schedule of things, my friend?
I don't even know, man. Here we go. Development talk. So we've been meeting with lawyers. You had a meeting in the morning without me because I had a...
God, the way I presented the project was so much better than Alex too. You don't even know.
True.
You don't even know.
You don't even
know. I should. It was really good.
How was it better?
How was it better? I don't know. It just seemed to flow better.
Get out of town.
I made it my own. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I convinced the lawyer at the end. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is a fantastic project."
Yeah. But we convince them every time anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, your way is probably better.
Yeah. No, I don't know if it was. I'm just screwing around. It went really well. So I had a meeting with one an additional lawyer. The first lawyer that we interviewed a couple weeks ago didn't work out because he said his specialty was not condos. Okay, that's who we need to align with, to somebody whose specialty is condos. So then he referred us to two more attorneys and / firms. So I interviewed one yesterday morning, and Alex is out in a different meeting. Again, Angie's List is crushing it over here. And then we both went to a high-rise downtown Denver, and it was interesting. They were a bigger firm.
Yeah, it was impressive because you go up 25 floors. All of their offices were as big as our conference room.
Yep. They got secretaries. They pay for parking. Like, that's the whole deal. It'd be like if we were a big architecture firm.
Yeah, but even fancier because I've been in big architecture firms and they still do the ball pen. Like all of you guys are just in a ball pen.
Yep. Everybody else. Yeah. And this one they all had glass offices.
Yeah.
So they were good meetings. I think we learned a lot, and I think the biggest thing about going into these kind of meetings with these other professionals that you're going to engage with is knowing what questions to ask. I think that's totally critical. So one question that we both kind of beat to death yesterday, and I did it in the first meeting, just so you know, was here's where we're at with our project. So just to refresh, we have a third of an acre. We are basically doing 9 units. One's commercial, 8 are residential, but we are not allowed by the city to split up the land in different lots. So therefore, it makes us a condominium develop it just by virtue of that, because we're only selling airspace. However, we are permitting the project under, for the most part, the residential code. The commercial is obviously in its own little category. But we are also building it as if it's an R3 or a townhome. So what we're trying to get out of these lawyers is, okay, even though the building code references this versus the zoning code, like, where does it land? Is there any way around this? Is there any way to make it look like a townhome? Because it is built like a townhome.
And the reason why is insurance. The price for a condo insurance is going to be astronomical.
Yeah, we're not actually... we should always be worried about litigation and the construction defects with condos. We like in college, multiple professors tell us never do a condo, and here we are. Here we are building and developing condos.
But we aren't actually afraid of getting sued or doing something wrong. Obviously, on a job site, anything can go wrong. You have to replace stuff, but we're gonna be on site. We have guys that can fix things at a whim. We're not worried about actually getting sued. We're worried about paying $250,000 for condo insurance. That's what we're worried about and trying to get out of.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we cannot.
Yeah, that would kind of kill. I mean, I don't know. We'd have to go.
Here's the question.
We'd have to really bring in private money at that point.
I'll be absolutely honest with you. So, to get your license, your contractor license, you need to show insurance, right?
Yeah.
What kind of insurance does it have to be?
Just general liability insurance. But they asked specifically, so just so you know, I filled out all the forms
with our insurance guy.
With our insurance agent on, I think, a Wednesday.
Yep.
And they asked a ton of questions, like, what are you going to be building? What have you done before?
But that's not for general. That's for condo insurance, right? Or is that just for...
just for me to be a Class B contractor.
Okay.
Commercial contractor.
So our lawyer said something interesting. He goes... He the way he phrased it is that you don't really need condo insurance. He goes, I wouldn't advise having it.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, honestly.
So this would be like an out of the box kind of risk, which we do all the time. Yeah. So what Alex is about to say.
Well, someone was saying, some article I read, entrepreneurs take really balanced risk. So here's how we
balance it, calculated.
Here's how we would balance it. Is because we are going to hire a lawyer for this project and making up not only the HOA and having those rules in place so that we have time to fix any changes, we have buyout agreements and all that, but then in our individual contracts, instead of just using the traditional real estate one, we do the same thing. We let everyone know that, hey, if there's a problem, you let us know. If we fix it within this, we get this amount of days or whatever. If it's a huge problem, we can buy the whole condo back from you. What was the other thing? How we could minimize our risk. But I don't know. We're going to take steps to minimize our risk. So then doesn't that then make it a little bit safer to not have this extra insurance?
You know who's going to make the call at the end of the day?
Loan.
The bank.
I
think the bank. I wonder if the bank... I don't know. Yeah, I'm wondering if the bank makes that loan or that call.
Yeah.
And then we are just forced into doing it, right? They're going to want insurance on the whole thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'd have to see.
So, because I think insurance, just like healthcare insurance, makes a big target of there's a pile of money. If you don't have a target, if you don't legally have to have it, why make that target?
We could argue it. I'm open to it.
Yeah. And I wouldn't suggest this for normal considerations. I mean, since we're controlling the whole process.
Exactly.
That's why I bring it up.
So maybe it's a calculated risk. So I want to give some people some numbers because people like, we've heard from a couple people, actually our upcoming guest, Matt Perry, that he likes when we get very specific about how to do things or, numbers and figures and stuff, like what things cost. So we had these meetings. Obviously, with these guys, first meeting's free.
Maybe they should have charged us.
Maybe they should have charged us, and then we had skin in the game. So out of the two firms that we were looking at, the one in the high rise in Denver, twice as much as the one we're going to end up hiring. So we're going to go, and also they're much bigger, and we want to align ourselves with people that are like close to the same size as us. Okay.
Exactly. If you're a small firm, you don't need Charles Schwab.
Correct. So we got three. We said, hey, we're looking for three things out of these meetings to understand costs. So I want to let everybody know about this. The first thing is, and this is actually the first thing you would need to do is they're going to look at all three of your entities if you're doing the whole design, build, develop, right? They're going to look at the architecture firm.
Investors are.
Yes, investor. Well, investors, but you should have all three buttoned up anyway.
Right.
So we said, okay, we want you guys, what is it going to cost to do, to shore up our partner agreements? So that investors can look at it and they can see exactly how, like, let's say Alex says, I'm not doing this project anymore.
Rawr.
I'm out of here. And then he runs away like a cat.
Yeah. Meow.
and then so the investors want to know, like, okay, is there a buyout? How do we make it so it doesn't stall the project?
And I think our brains really switched in the meetings, or at least mine did, because the original thing, like if F9 broke up, we already kind of had a plan. You take your clients, I take my clients, we split up the guys.
We flip each other off.
Yeah. But then it hit me. Oh, with the development, we can't just cut that in half.
Yeah.
That right?
No,
did
no,
it hit you when I said that in the meeting? You're like,
I could see your face change to like, oh, there's a light bulb going on.
Yeah, but was that your thinking?
Yes,
from the beginning.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's why you need to do it, because even if you think, oh, we'll just amicably split up, it's you can't split a project, a development in half. Someone has to buy. So that's where the real lawyery stuff.
Right. So here's what we're going to. So this is part one of what we're having them look at, and it was shoring up the partner agreements for investors. And what I mean by that is, so they're going to take a look at F9 Productions, which is an S corp, F12, which is an LLC, F14, which is an LLC. And with F9, like Alex was saying, we're gonna set it up so that, like, if Alex and I broke up, we'd go to mediation, then arbitration. And then we would have to, like, if that doesn't work, then we freaking go to court.
But I think the key is, and how it would be maybe easier and not with any buyout agreement, is that F9 would literally die, and there'd be F. Like Lance would just call his company F, and I'd call my company 9. I'm just making up,
right.
So F9 gets destroyed. But our development company, we can't have it's F12.
Yeah.
We can't do F and then 12. Someone is going to have to keep F12.
So exactly, to keep the project moving forward 100%.
Exactly. And that's what investors want to know. You can't cut.
Yep. So for F9, they're going to look at it and they're going to set it up so it's, like I said, it would go mediation, arbitration, and then court, because they're splitting up clients and stuff like that, and we can actually split the company. F12 can't split it, so there has to be a buyout.
Yes.
So that's what they're going to look at. F14, I don't know how that would work. I guess in that case, it would probably be the same thing. It'd have to be a buyout, right?
I haven't really.
So anyway,
whatever.
So for that stuff, they're just going to do hourly work for us. Anybody who's hired a lawyer before, you're looking at between $200 and $500 an hour. Yeah. It is what it is. My advice, and this is off the cuff advice,
nice,
is that so if you, when I'm thinking about doing this, is like, I don't know, let's draft it up ourselves and then have them look at it and tweak it from there. It's, you know what I mean? So like, yes. if you have the ability to do that, ever for any kind of, the more information you can kind of get ahead of them on, if they're just reviewing it, in my experience with lawyers, it's been pretty productive and saved money.
I think that's a general rule. So I've not been happy with some of the consultants we've been working with, and Lance is just reassuring me, no, you have to do their job for them.
Yep.
And it's blowing my mind.
Herd and Cats. That's what this episode should be called. Condos and Cats.
Condos and Cats. Done. Write that down. You write that down. Because, and it's blowing my mind, because these are professionals that we're paying money to. And it's not even in my realm of expertise, and I'm redlining their drawings. And it's just something you have to get used to. And the more you can make something easier or straightforward for someone else, I think the smoother you're going to go and the faster you're going to run.
Yeah, even writing up like a newspaper article for your own company and pitching it to the newspapers, you did their job for them. Make it, it is what it is.
Assume you have to do everything yourself, and then be surprised when you don't.
Especially if you're going to be a leader and an entrepreneur and like a spearhead, you just got to do it. There's just no way around it. Don't ever think that you can let up. I think that's our problem. Is every once in a while you and I want our jobs to be increasingly not easier, but just more smooth. And I think we get caught up in that and like, oh, it should just be smoother now. But nope, we have to keep doing other people's jobs.
Yeah. And then I'd say this is the difference, is that everything we just said is when people are working for us or we're paying them directly. So like we would be the big boss man on the top. So I have another huge project where we have everyone involved and there's the developer on the top. Now, instead of me redlining and just doing everyone's job for them, I'm clearly defining, this is my scope, this is your scope. If it's inside of building, I will take care of it. If it's outside the building, you will take care of it.
You take care of it.
So there's just know those two different situations. If you're on top or if you're in part of a team.
Yep.
Yeah. Because if you're in part of a team, you're all horizontal. You can't be the one, unless you're getting paid for it.
Yeah. You can only do lateral moves, right? Okay. The second part, the second thing we wanted them to see is, okay, how much does this stuff cost? Is the cost to set up an HOA. And what I mean that is like all the bylaws. So you have to recognize your state laws, and then honestly, then they fine tune it to exactly what the heck you're doing. There's certain things you can and cannot do. Obviously, you want to protect yourself as the developer through litigation, and you want to give yourself a chance to mitigate any problems.
Right. And then there's probably a process for if someone wants to paint,
Yep. How do you submit the paint color and go to the committee and like here's the bi-weekly meetings, like all the crap,
and then like no chickens on your rooftop, no open flames, like all those rules are going to be in the HOA.
Yeah. So the big firm was about $10,000 and the small firm was $4,500. My fiance, I asked her last night and she goes, I said, what do you think it would cost? She's like, $2,500. So I don't know. I mean, so just so everybody knows, like I think a good ballpark would be $5,000. I think that's you kind of start there. And then the third thing is, so once you get the declarations written, then you have to set up a nonprofit which the nonprofit, like the HOA members pay a fee each month. For anybody who's not an HOA, for anybody who is an HOA, you already know the drill. But you pay a fee each month, and that fee goes into a bank account, and it goes towards administrative fees, and then it also goes towards maintaining the landscape, replacing roads, stuff like that. That was about $800.
Yep. Just to set it up.
Just to set up I don't think it's a 501c, but it's awfully close. It's like it's just a nonprofit corporation.
So technically, could you say we could probably do that ourselves? Not like we have the time to do it. Because we set up our own companies all the time. Is it that easy, or is there more nonsense to it? Or you don't even want to research?
I don't want to
I'm totally behind you.
Yeah, I know. We could. You know what? I think we could possibly do it. But I'm not going to. I'm just going to hire the frickin' lawyer.
Yeah. The only caveat to that is, we said, okay, $5,000. I would match the size of your firm. So if you are Richmond Homes, you should probably have a
Richmond lawyers.
Yeah, you should probably have a law firm that has offices everywhere that you build. You're probably gonna pay $10,000, but they're gonna have specialty people and for specialty reasons. So, I would match your size. That's my only caveat.
Real easy advice. Yep. So there you go. That's where we're at. I'm actually gonna hopefully send an email to one of the lawyers and tell them we'd like to secure them in whatever way we need to, and then hopefully get them going on the LLCs. So okay, with that, I think we're on to our typical segment of best and worst advice. This week we have Matt Perry, not the actor, but he's just as pretty as the actor. Yes, I feel like he's
more cut.
He's more cut. Yeah, he takes off his shirt. He's got like a 12-pack.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. So Matt is a former colleague, a current colleague of ours, a former classmate of ours at North Dakota State University, and he's sort of going off on his own. I think doing some freelance stuff, working in Minnesota, and he's got some worst and best advice for us. So here we go.
Hey guys, this is Matt Perry, an old college classmate of Lance and Alex's, bringing you my best and worst advice. The best piece of advice I've received is don't be afraid to fail. And by that I mean, don't let our fear of failure keep you from trying something new. That something new could be asking a pretty girl out for dinner. It could be entering your first marathon. It could be quitting a job to start a new business. I personally struggle with this concept. I would say my biggest fear is of failing, or maybe spiders. But I think most people have that fear of failing, and probably spiders. But what I was also told at the same time is that you need to predefine what a failure in excess is for your given endeavor. Maybe you don't get that dinner with the pretty girl, but she asks you out to a coffee meetup instead. Maybe you didn't complete your first marathon without walking and had a horrible finish time, but now you know the process and how it works and how much harder you'll need to train for your next one. Maybe you made a new training partner along the way. Maybe your new business that didn't last, but now you know the ins and outs of the bookkeepings needed, your taxes, vendors you can use in the future, maybe some partners, and an idea of a new business that you know will work. My point is, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and give it your all, because not trying might be the biggest failure you can have. I recently read a book called Architect Entrepreneur by Eric Reinhold, who touches on this subject in the very first chapter, called Mindset. And I believe your mindset really is at the heart of this idea. I'll read just a quick paragraph out of the book that I think directly applies to you two and your podcast. Many perceive the act of opening a business as a singular act, one that they either pass or fail at. I believe this is a flawed perception. Opening a business isn't a zero-sum game. You always walk away with more than what you started. More knowledge, a better understanding of the world, more connections, and a dose of pride that you actually tried and didn't let your dream slip away. So there it is. Nothing is a failure if you go in looking for a learning experience. Anything beyond that is just icing on the cake. Again, I say that knowing how hard it is to take that first step in big ventures, but I know the spectrum between success and failure is huge. So you might land somewhere, anywhere in between. To my worst advice, just do it. You usually hear this from friends or family or Nike, and it's a very simple solution to what is probably a very complex problem. You might say, I want to buy a car, and they say, just do it. But they don't care that you can't afford the monthly payments or that it's impractical for your lifestyle. You say you want to try a triathlon, and they say, just do it. But they don't listen when you say you have a fear of swimming in lakes or you have a knee problem you had surgery on. You say you want to start a business. They say, just do it. But they don't know the initial capital it takes, or the risk of losing your current job, the time and effort required, the weekends you'll be giving up, and the relationships that may start to fade without any free time. Their reasoning may be, don't be afraid of failure. But telling somebody to just do it is telling them to be unprepared, to be uneducated or unknowing, and walk blindly into a situation without a well thought out plan. To ignore any elements working against you instead of having real solutions to what you need. It's really just setting you up to fail, I think. I believe this is so similar, yet completely opposite to my best advice. What do you think? 2 more bits of advice, since I heard on a previous podcast that you don't listen to these before you hear them. 1, Lance, stop having kids. You're at what, 37 now? It's getting ridiculous. Gore, it's time to trade in your truck. You know you're more of a Prius guy, or maybe a Leaf. Anyway, keep acing those ARE questions. Thanks, guys.
Hilarious.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, I think on all fronts he nailed it.
Before you start, I never noticed this before, and I think it's because every time I'm talking to, well, I don't know, for some reason, you sound like Mike Rowe. I think you are our version of Mike Rowe. Do you know who that is?
Oh, of course I know who that is.
Dirty Job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His was interesting because I think he hit on a dichotomy there. Don't be afraid to fail and then just do it. And we say just do it all the time. And maybe he was even talking to us because we go fishing with him every year. Just do it, Perry. Just
get it done. Oh, yeah. We tell everybody, like, when are you guys going to start your firm? Come on. Just do it. Quit. Start.
But where I think he probably nailed it on the head is that the reason why just do it works and doesn't is that it's hard to apply knowledge to a framework that you don't have, right? So if you are just doing it, you start to build that framework and then you can add things onto it. But we know of, and we won't mention, many people and personal friends that have started a business and we're like, this is a terrible idea and it went nowhere and you're in a whole bunch of debt. So that's where it's just do it as a double-edged sword. Like you just mortgage your house on a terrible idea. But then all you hear is stories about other people who mortgaged their house and made millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Jonathan Segal, the architect, remember he says like, I ran up all my credit card debt. He's like, I was just financed through the roof or through the hilt, and now look at him, he's a multimillionaire. So
and I would say, then the answer is what entrepreneurs don't say is calculated risk.
Calculated risk.
Calculated risk. That's what you have to do.
But there's a double-edged sword to that because I think a lot of architects and designers
think too much.
Think way too much.
Yeah. And then this is what we tell to each other. Because every year comes out, America is dumb. Our education system is terrible.
Norway is killing it.
Japan, everyone's better. And then we're like, well, we have a great economy. It might be because we rigged the system, because we semi do. But the other thing that I said to Lance, and he's like, that's perfect, is we're an action-oriented society.
Exactly. Yeah.
But there's still that, I mean, we are almost coming up on our 10-year anniversary, and they say 50% of businesses fail within their first year. Then the ones remaining, 50% fail at
After
5
that,
years,
yep.
and then 10 years. So this will be huge when we make it. So that's why it is such a double-edged sword. And I don't know, there has to be a point where you just calculate. You do that calculation to a certain point, and then you got to pull the trigger.
Exactly, and I think it's recognizing that point, right? Of like, how do you define that point? And when do you say, okay, that's it. Now I'm stopping here, and now I'm going to jump and leap and move forward and just do it.
Yeah, and then I would go back to, okay, what do you have to calculate? And I think you go back to Elon Musk and boil it down to the fundamental principles. So for us, when we started the firm, it was be the most professional, be on time, and over deliver. Like if we can just do that, then maybe we can survive. So if you have a skill that you have contacts that will pay for it and you can deliver on, and then you have some money in the bank so that you can float yourself for a while, then you might be calculated enough to make a go at it.
There you go. Or you might be pushed off a cliff like I was, and that you just have to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not just do it, just do it because you have to do it. There you go. There you go.
Well, I would say just do it applies when you're pushed off a cliff. Might as well grow some wings.
Here we go. Got to try to flap around. Yeah. So awesome. Thanks again, Perry. Appreciate it. Please leave us a 5-star review. If you're going to leave a 1-star review, add 5 stars to it, and then just do that on iTunes.
Yeah, there you go.
You're our other bestie.
Yep.
Okay.
Best
cool.
friend, Matt Perry.
We got 2 things left. We're going to get into code questions. But before we do that, I want to talk about a quick little thing about reciprocity in other states. So I don't know how many other people that are listening to this that are architects are licensed in only one state, but then have thought about venturing out and trying to expand and do multi-state work. We have currently done that. We've done work up in North Dakota, and we just landed some work up in Idaho. So I want to take the veil away for anybody who's never done that and demystify the whole thing. Number one, it's if you have an NCARB account, it goes way easier. If you don't have an NCARB account, it sounds like it goes way worse. But
are you talking people who don't have NCARB accounts that have been licensed?
Jerry.
So it's been 30 years in the business.
Well, you didn't test through NCARB. That's the thing.
Yeah. So if you don't have an NCARB account, you've probably been doing this for over 30 years.
You got it. But if you do have an NCARB account, and probably most people here listening do, it's a double-edged sword. Number one, it costs $400 frickin' to get your NCARB green count or whatever the hell they call it sent up to, say Idaho. In this case, it was for us, it was Idaho.
No, that makes sense because it's in the computer and they can just easily forward it. So that took about $400. No, that makes sense.
It's like $200 per click.
Yeah. Open email, find file, send. So $100 per click, and then $100 just because.
Why not? Just because you got.
We're doing such a great job.
You got 5 letters in your name. There you go.
We deserve it.
Yeah. So it's $400. They do send it really quick, so that was good. So I was able to get licensed within like 10 days up in Idaho, which is great. And And then on top of that, then you're going to pay some fee to some state to quickly to have them review it. It's like in Idaho, I think it was $150, and in North Dakota, it's $150. I don't know how it works in New York and California because we have friends in California that practice, and they say you have to take, in addition to all the NCARB stuff, then there's like 2 more tests they have to take, like an EPA-related test, I know in California, and then also like a specific seismic, which makes sense for California, earthquake zone.
But no, our friend corrected us. It's not seismic. It's the process. Well, it's seismic, but it's like, where do you look? Do you remember him talking? You may have been drinking.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yes, it's coming back. It was foggy.
It was a foggy day.
There were some gentlemen, Jack.
It was very sunny, but foggy in a different sense. So it's just the process. And I heard in New York, someone can correct me, is that the New York bureaucracy is so crazy. You got to take a test on the bureaucracy.
Oh,
Welcome
just how
to America.
Just so you know, here's how you jump through all of our hoops.
Yeah.
And people wonder why building is so expensive.
Yep.
Actually, they don't. They just make up their own reason for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's that. Maybe that'll help. Maybe it won't. I don't know.
You know what? Okay. Have you heard why education costs are so high for like high school and all that other stuff?
For high school?
Because we pay $10,000 per pupil, and everyone else pays way less, and they get higher scores than us.
Not for. I can only speak on higher education, not just high school.
Okay, so for higher education, they did a study because they wanted to know, and obviously they didn't take what that study gave them and fix the problem. They just made a study and let it sit there, and New Jersey is the highest. So they're able, because there's different school districts, so they were able to see what is the difference, and the common denominator was the number of admin positions.
Oh,
so it was all administration.
There's more red tape.
Red tape, exactly. Then for building permits and how much it costs to get a building permit through, it's the same thing. City, more admin positions, more double checking, where the county is easy, simple. Buildings still don't, fall down. Admin is really just messing everyone up.
Yep. Yeah, less middlemen. We'd all be better off. Yeah. Good Lord. All right, on to the last segment here. We got code questions. Alex is on fire, as everyone knows.
Yep, 100% so far.
115%, actually.
Last 10 episodes.
When's your next test? 6 weeks?
No, it's 3 weeks.
Wow, coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully he really crushes these ones.
Yeah.
All right, we got three big ones for you.
But just to be fair to everyone taking the ARE, Lance is just making up these questions.
Yeah, these are not ARE, just so we're gonna get me in trouble with NCARB. There you go.
Yeah. He's literally finding things that he found interesting or did not know, writing them down, and then making fun of me when I don't know them.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Okay. So, Chapter 21 from the IBC, Masonry Fireplaces. We have two questions coming from here, and then we'll jump to a new chapter, okay? So, code 2111.11, hearth extension dimensions. Hearths shall extend not less than how many inches in front of a fireplace opening? A, 10 inches, B, 12 inches, C, 14 inches, D, 16 inches.
You really pick just meaty questions that really matter, don't you?
just everyday practice, just life safety.
Yeah.
Life safety.
You really pick I don't know. It's not like you pick obscure things that no one ever really looks into.
Everybody wants to know this.
So hearth max.
What is the minimum?
Oh, the minimum.
See, do you see how I worded this? ARE? Okay. Yeah. Let me read it one more time. Yeah. Hearths shall extend not less than how many inches on each side of the fireplace opening. By the way, the IBC
the sides.
No, sorry, in front. I'm sorry, in front. Yeah. Sorry, that was the second question. So, last time I'm going to do it. Hearths shall extend not less than how many inches in front of the fireplace opening?
Does this differentiate between which kind of fireplace it is?
No,
because your house might be out of code. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I think it pertains to wood fireplaces.
Okay, sure.
I don't know, maybe. Somehow we passed.
Inspector Alice coming.
Somehow we passed. How about that? Because on one side we have nothing.
Exactly. I'm gonna go with the lowest. Just say 10 because it's
16.
So
minimum of 16 inches.
This fireplace is out.
Completely out of code. Our conference room. Call the building inspector.
This is just a general question to you. How many times have you seen
Actually, no, this one's good because see the bottom? We're talking about the bottom part, like at the bottom of the
I was
fireplace.
thinking the top. Why was I thinking the top?
That's a mantle.
Yeah.
Just so I can educate you, Mr. Architect.
Thank you. No, that helps. So let me re-answer that question now that I'm thinking about the right location. I would say 16 inches.
Correct. The streak continues.
That makes way more sense. I was thinking of 16 inches.
For a mantle, yeah. So we're talking about the bottom.
Is there a mantle one?
No, I think that's just an aesthetic thing. I couldn't find one. I don't know. Somebody will probably correct me. Somebody will hit us up on Twitter and just burn us.
Yeah.
All right, this is part B. Hearths shall extend not less than how many inches on each side of the fireplace opening? A, 4 inches. A B, 6 inches. C, 8 inches. D, 10 inches.
Each side?
Yep.
Let's make it 10.
8 inches.
8 inches. 16 and 8. Half.
16 and 8. There you go. So just think about it that way.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to be on ARE.
I hope it is.
I think they're mainly
I hope they
geared-
ask about a mantle somehow.
They're mainly geared towards IBC, I think, and houses. But anyways,
This is from the IBC.
Don't even listen to me because ARE will pull questions out of anywhere they want.
Exactly, right out of their butthole.
Yeah.
Last question of the day. Chapter 22, Steel. This one's a good. I like this one. 2211.3.3. The owner or the owner's authorized agent shall contract with a registered design professional for the design of the temporary insulation, restraint/bracing, and the permanent individual truss member restraint/bracing for trusses with clear spans of how many feet or greater. So just to put it in layman's terms, if a steel truss is how many feet long or bigger do you as the owner need to contract with the registered design professional for temporary insulation, right? So like this requires a engineer to come out and to tell you like, okay, here's how we're temporarily going to install it.
So an engineer needs to come out.
An engineer is basically, you got to do some CA work, okay? A, 30 feet. B, 40 feet. C, 50 feet. D, 60 feet. Dun, dun, dun,
I have no idea. I'm gonna split my answers, and I get to do this. 30 or 50.
60 feet.
So
if a steel.
So anything under it, you don't need to.
You don't have. You can just. The contractor could just install it without somebody. It sounds like an engineer has to go out there, like watch how it's installed or like give it specific instructions. So he's kind of doing what we're told not to do, right? Which is direct how construction work happens.
Yeah,
that's weird to me.
Because here's the question. Let's inform me and other people. When you're putting that steel up, wouldn't you just connect it and not do a temporary brace if it's that big?
I don't understand it either. I don't get that. For the design of the temporary insulation restraint/bracing and the permanent individual. So it's for both. They just need to be out there. So here's what happens when you set steel. Like a lot of times you're tacking it in.
Pin it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So gotcha. If it's over 60, just have an engineer.
Well, even a truss. Even when you're setting like a wood truss, like they'll pin it, and then a laborer will come back and then put in the clips, like the hurricane clips. At least in my experience. So
yeah. Cool. So good to know.
Good to know. Okay. Anything else? You got anything to add?
If that's no, I do.
That's
I do.
Oh, here we go.
No, just a little thanks. Shout out to everyone that's involved listening. Everyone that's burning the midnight oil or the early morning oil, getting it done. Improving yourself, improving your business, improving your family. Thanks for getting after it. And always follow us on the Twitter, Facebook. Get in touch with us. We're always happy to hear from friends, family, anybody else who is listening to this. And have a good week. We'll see you next week.